Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope everybody is doing well this week. I hope you guys are feeling good. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a story of a young woman who did like a lot of us do, went out with her friends to celebrate her birthday. She was in a group of friends. She had left her daughter with her family for them to watch her so she could go out and celebrate. She got all cute, got all dressed up, and the night did not go as planned. Before we get into it, though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina, and we just do things way more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon is for 18 and up, and over there we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there, and there is a $2 tier for all the true crime stuff, sea theory stuff, random stuff like that. That cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. That goes over on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section and what each tier offers before you join. I also am on Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram, and I'm also now on Like to Know It. And on Like to Know It is where you guys can find the links to a lot of my favorite items, things that I use, things that you guys ask about, stuff that I like clothes that I wear, makeup, earrings, jewelry, shoes, workout equipment, all kinds of random stuff that I cook with. I link it all over on my Like to Know It, and all of those are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. So, okay, let me tell y'all about Jassy Correia. 23-year-old Jassy Correia was born on February 26th of 1996 in Paria, Cape Verde Islands, but she was raised in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Paria is the capital and the largest city of Cape Verde, which is off of the coast of West Africa. The city is on the southern coast of Santiago Island. The old town center, called the Plateau by the locals, is on a raised area overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. There are plenty of beaches, shops, and restaurants. And in 2017, the population in this area was estimated to be about 159,000. So there's a lot of people that live in this beautiful area. And the language that is used by most of the locals is Portuguese. Jassy, however, immigrated to the United States with her father when she was just 3 years old. He wanted a better life for his daughter and all that came with the American dream. Jassy was working and making a decent living as a hostess at the Del Frisco restaurant in Boston. She really enjoyed this job. She was also a mother to her 2-year-old daughter. When Jassy was described by her friends and her loved ones, they said that she really loved to dance, she loved photography, and she really loved to make others laugh. She also loved spending time with her family. She was very, very, very close with her family and her friends, and most of all, her daughter. Her and her daughter loved going to the park together, and Jassy loved just taking a ton of pictures of her. Back in 2019, however, Jassy had recently gotten free from a relationship from her daughter's father, Miguel Castro. Now, according to the reports and the research that I did, Miguel was what people would say very jealous at times. He would allegedly accuse Jassy of texting other men and all other kinds of accusations. In January of 2018, one of their arguments really escalated to the point that the police ended up getting involved. And according to court records, a 911 call came in from Miguel's mother, who reported that Jassy had sent her a photo of her face all messed up. Okay, so just so y'all are clear, a 911 phone call came in from her daughter's father, Miguel's mother. She's the one that calls 911 and says, hey, listen, Jassy just sent me this photo of her face all messed up, And along with the photo, Jassy texts his mother saying, "You need to help me. Miguel will not let me leave. Don't call him because he will end me." Okay, so the mother got freaked out. She calls the police. Jassy also told the mother that she was hiding under the basement stairs. When Miguel's mother called 911, she told the operator that her son Miguel had very, we'll just say aggressive, but much more than that, tendencies, and that he had even, attacked her in the past. When the officers finally arrived at the home, Miguel did allow them to come inside, and this is when the officers found plates smashed all over the place. They found food all over the floor, and Miguel ended up telling them that Jassy had thrown these dishes at him and that then she ran off, took an Uber to her father's home. The officers then put Miguel in handcuffs for their safety while they completely searched the home. As they searched the home, this is when the officers found a lot of red, bodily fluids in the bathroom. They found it in the bedroom, and they found the same matching red on the sweater that Miguel was wearing. As the officers were clearing the house, they noticed Miguel appeared nervous and that he was pacing. Okay, while he was in these handcuffs. This is when dispatch told the officers to make sure they checked everything in the house, including the basement, since this is where Jassy told Miguel's mother that she was hiding. And when they went back and checked, sure enough, they found her hiding under the stairs. She was so badly messed up, you guys. She had all kinds of red all over her face. She was bruised, her arms, her legs, her lips were swollen, her cheeks were swollen. Officers said in their report that Jassy's injuries were so severe that they felt that someone who knew her would not even be able to recognize her. Jassy told the officers that all she remembered was Miguel striking her, and then she completely blacked out. Jassy ended up being taken to the hospital to be treated, and when the officers tried to speak to her there, she told them she never wanted to talk about the incident ever again. Miguel did end up being arrested, and they slapped him with just about every charge that they could give him. And he even got attempting to mislead the police investigation by intimidation of a witness. I mean, they gave him anything and everything they could. And the way that I read this was they were looking at Jassy okay, she's obviously not strong enough to push through this herself, because by the time she gets to the hospital, she says she's blacking out. She doesn't want to speak on it. She's not going to tell them anything. And so they were trying to make it stick themselves. It's what it seems like. Now, while Miguel was in jail waiting to go to trial, there was a no contact order that was put into place. However, he continued to reach out to Jassy. And in these jail phone calls, he would tell Jassy she better not cooperate with the investigation. And he told her not to show up to court or anything when they asked her to come in. So Jassy would only show up for court proceedings when a warrant was literally issued for her to come in. Even then, once they finally got her to come in, Jassy still refused to offer any kind of testimony against Miguel. However, with her original statement, although it was very small, with what the cops could testify to what they saw, with the photograph evidence from the incident and the jail cell phone calls that they had recorded, Miguel did end up being found guilty on all the charges in January of 2019. Now, he was sentenced to 4.5 to 5 years in prison. With all that being done, Jassy just wanted to move on with her life. She wanted to start over and just raise her daughter. Okay, so she really went through a lot. She wanted to just be independent, be on her own, be happy, and not be under the control of anybody. However, just over a month later, Jassy's life came to a screeching halt. On Saturday, February 23rd of 2019, Jassy went out to celebrate her 23rd birthday with her friends. She got all dressed up, you guys. She was looking so cute. She had on this nice jumpsuit. They ended up going out to a nightclub in Boston called the Venu. Now, according to the friends that were with her, Jassy spent the evening like dancing, having drinks of champagne, and having a really good time. I mean, again, after everything she had just been through, she's out with her friends. Her family's watching her daughter so she can go out and have a good time. At closing time, which was around 2 a.m., Jassy and her 3 friends were seen on surveillance footage walking out of the club's front door. They were all intoxicated, and Jassy's friend had been arguing with her. So because they were kind of having like this little spat, they ended up splitting ways. Now, also on the surveillance footage, Jassy is seen trying to get into an Uber that wasn't actually hers. So what it seems like is maybe she thought that was her ride or something, but because it wasn't her ride, the person inside apparently just pushed her out and she fell on the ground. That just seeing that just kind of seemed like, okay, a bit much, right? Like a bit much. Then on this same security footage, a man can be seen approaching Jassy, and the two are seen leaving the area together. And as a matter of fact, like he grabs her arm and they kind of walk off. Jassy and this man were seen on the surveillance footage getting into a red sedan together. And this is the last time that Jassy was ever seen alive. 2 days later, on February 26th, Jassy's father and one of her friends report her missing to the Boston police. They hadn't seen or heard from her, and this was the day of her actual birthday, and she hadn't come back and contacted them, called, obviously texted or anything, and they were flipping out. I mean, they were just beside themselves. They were very concerned. An investigation immediately began trying to figure out where Jassy was, and this is when they started gathering the surveillance footage like we just looked at. Now, after Jassy and the man are seen taking off in this red sedan, the investigators track that vehicle back to a woman living in California. Now, this woman in California has a son living in the area named Coleman III. Okay? 32-year-old Lewis was originally from California. He had a master's degree, and in 2017, he ended up moving to Rhode Island for work, where he earned $70,000 a year. He seemed to be living what a lot of people would think is a totally like normal life, or he was, successful. And yeah, Lewis too had also been at this club Venu the same night. Now, more surveillance footage showed the red sedan entering Lewis's apartment building in Providence, which is over 50 miles away, and about 2 hours later, around 4:15 a.m., Lewis can be seen walking from the red sedan towards the front of the building, carrying a body with long hair and orange pants. Investigators believe the body was Jassy's, okay? Surveillance footage from the building's lobby shows Lewis put Jassy on the floor and dragged her onto the elevator. Something that they noticed in the surveillance footage was that Jassy was undressed from the waist up and she was not moving at all. Then, getting out of the elevator, Lewis could be seen dragging Jassy towards his apartment on the 6th floor. The next day, Lewis is seen leaving his apartment to go to Walmart. Now, at Walmart, he goes in, y'all. He purchases full-body suits. He purchases duct tape. He purchases 2 candles, electrical tape. He purchases a surgical mask, surgical gloves, 2 pairs of safety goggles, a respirator, and bleach. Then he ends up driving home, and he's seen entering his apartment again. Meanwhile, Jassy is never seen leaving Lewis's apartment. If you guys have been with me here for a while, and we talk about these cases and stuff, that list of items is never, ever a good sign. So when you're thinking about being in the position of the investigators as they're going through this surveillance footage, and then they're seeing what he's buying, and then they're seeing him go back into the apartment and her never come out, you can just imagine what they're expecting. The next day, the Boston police issue a missing persons alert for Jassy, which included pictures of her and pictures of the man that she was last seen with, as well as the video footage. Later that evening, surveillance footage shows Lewis entering his apartment building around 9:58 p.m. with a large suitcase. A few hours later, at 1:15 a.m., Lewis is seen wheeling this big suitcase out of his apartment into the parking lot. He then struggles to get the suitcase into his trunk. And then after this, Lewis is seen coming and going from his apartment with cardboard boxes, trash bags, and a bottle of bleach, a laptop bag, and like this little small duffel bag. By this point, the investigators were finally able to get a search warrant, so they headed over to Lewis's apartment. At the apartment, they found 2 respirator masks and noticed that one of the 4 couch cushions was completely missing and the shower curtain was completely missing. The investigators then decided to go search the dumpster outside of the apartment building, and this is where they found all of the items that Lewis was seen taking out of his apartment, like the trash bags and duffel bag, as well as red stained jeans with bleach stains, and there was a belt, there was a hoodie, there was an empty box of baking soda, rubbing alcohol, and all of the things Lewis was seen purchasing at Walmart basically was out there in that apartment dumpster. A couple hours later, Lewis was tracked via the OnStar service that was connected to his car, and he was pulled over driving on I-95 near Wilmington, Delaware, where he was pulled out of the car and asked if anyone else was inside the car with him. Now, according to the body cam footage, Lewis said, "She's in the trunk."
Is there anybody else in the car? Yes. Yes. Where? Where in the car? Stop the trunk. Whoever's in the trunk, get out of the trunk. Go to the back seat now.
The officer opened the trunk and found the same suitcase that Lewis was seen putting in the trunk of his car on that surveillance footage. The officers opened the suitcase, and this is where they found Jassy. She was inside a black plastic bag, and the missing couch cushion was in there as well. She was bound with the duct tape, heavily bruised, and she was completely covered in baking soda. Also in his vehicle was a gas container, a lighter, gloves. He had air freshener cans, disinfectant wipes, towels, and Lewis's computers. Later, it would come out that on his computers, like, he was searching all kind of stuff like, can you fit a body into a suitcase? How to pull a tooth that isn't loose, or how to embalm a body. Officers also reported that the passenger side of the windshield was cracked in 2 different places, and this led the investigators to believe, along with all the other surveillance footage, that Jassy was attacked in the car and that she did put up a fight. Now, when he was arrested, in the report, it said that he had a large bandage on the right side of his face. When the officers asked him what happened to his face, Lewis said, "It's from the girl." Later, the medical examiner announced that Jassy passed from blunt force trauma and then strangulation. And it also showed that she had been SA'd. Now, initially, this guy Lewis was charged with kidnapping, refusal to report a death with intent to conceal, and mutilation of a body. It was later announced that because Lewis took Jassy's body across state lines, he was charged with a federal kidnapping that would end up leading to a death charge. This meant Lewis's trial would be held in federal court. In May of 2022, Lewis's trial began. And keep in mind, though, that he was only on trial for this federal resulting in the death charge, not for murder. However, this federal charge did carry the possibility of Lewis receiving the DP or life in prison if he was convicted. So Lewis's defense lawyer claimed that Jassy voluntarily got into the car with Lewis and that her death was the result of a physical fight between Lewis and Jassy inside the vehicle, and that Jassy was the one that was actually the aggressor. The prosecution, however, argued that Lewis lured Jassy into his car, held her against her will, crossed state lines into Rhode Island, and knowingly and willfully ended her life. Now, during the trial, it was revealed that while Jassy's body was still in his apartment, Lewis was sending flirty text messages to a woman in California.
The suspect sent flirtatious text messages to a woman while Correia lay dead in his Providence condo. In one text, prosecutors say Lewis Coleman tells the woman he is about to catch his flight back to California, but promises to let her know when he's in town so they can meet up. Prosecutors say Coleman sent these texts just hours after he kidnapped Correia from outside a Boston nightclub and strangled her to death.
Can you imagine? And we've seen this before too. We have heard this before too. It is, if all of it isn't just unbelievable, the fact that somebody's literally sitting there communicating while there's somebody else, like this situation is sick, it's crazy. The jury ended up nevertheless finding 36-year-old Lewis guilty, and at sentencing, the judge sentenced Lewis to life in federal prison. As the judge gave the sentence, the judge said, "I take no pleasure in imposing it, but I do acknowledge that the defendant has very much earned it." And she was talking about basically the life in prison. Jassy's family did give statements after the hearing.
I can't believe it.
Girl, she was a mother, she was brave, she was strong. She did not deserve this. She went out to celebrate her birthday and never returned home.
Women should have a right to go to any nightclub and wear whatever they want to and not worried about being kidnapped and murdered at the end of their night.
And when Lewis was asked if he wanted to make a statement, he said no. As of this year, 2024, Lewis is still trying to appeal his conviction based on racial bias and what he claims to have been a strictly circumstantial case. No decision has yet been made. Can you imagine a strictly circumstantial? It makes me think, just the fact that he said that makes me think of another case that we're sitting around, kind of waiting on to go to trial, where you've got all this evidence, like the gloves, all of this stuff, the cell phone pings and all of that. Like, the only way you're going to have the other evidence is if the person is still alive to tell what you did, or if somebody else seen it. Otherwise, it is circumstantial. I mean, daggum. I don't think he's never going to get out anyways, but like that just, you think about it, she just turned 23, and a lot of us that maybe are older than 23, you think back at that age, you go through some things. We do a lot of learning in our 20s, a lot, and she got away from this other situation, and she just got away from it too. She just goes out to have a good time with her friends, and this happens. And it's just so sad, so devastating. Have y'all heard about this? Let me know what you guys think. Oh, and another thing. If you go out with your friends, if y'all are arguing or bickering, argue about it in the morning. Make sure each other gets home safe first. Like, call each other the next day and do whatever you need to do or say what you need to say. But make sure your friends and you get home safe first. I mean, we just saw this with the Riley Strand situation too, when he got separated from his friends, man. Let me know what y'all think down below. Other than that, I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.